you done a library of people playing up there yet?
It's so beautiful.
I practiced in my first year, honestly, I practiced 6 hours a day.
If there was ever some horrific blight, like COVID-22, that affected musical instruments and slowly, one by one, each group was dying off, which would you fight to save? My top 5 would be, in reverse order: 5, the bassoon, then the violin at 4, the contrabass, the bass, stand-up string bass at 3, piano at 2, but at 1, it would have to be the cello. At all costs, we must save the cello. I know the piano very intimately and have visited piano factories and understand how they're made. I've even dropped one from a 100-foot crane to prove a point, and that point being they sound better when they're being played than when they're being dropped. But really, I've held a violin a few times, a violin bow, and I've plucked away at a bass. But to be fair, I know naff all about the bassoon. But I think what's most curious for me is, of the absolute post-apocalyptic, must-save at all costs instrument that I just simply couldn't live without, I know very little about how it works, how it's made, constructed, indeed how you play it, what it even feels like. For I've never actually touched a cello. I don't even know how heavy they are. So our very own Alice Allen, who is, needless to say, an absolute virtuoso on the thing, came up with an idea.
So here at Crowhill, we're really passionate about getting composers working with live musicians, and there's nothing more exciting than collaborating with one another and swapping skill sets as well. And as well as encouraging that collaboration, we invite people to have a shot themselves at learning instruments and picking up new skill sets. So I'm delighted to be bringing you a beginner cello lesson today with my newest student.
The cello is my favourite instrument, so I'm really quite nervous about this. Yeah,
I actually didn't know.
It's dynamic and pitch range. It's just enormous.
Yeah.
And I like things that make me cry, and the cellos are quite cry-inducing. This is something that you start young, isn't it?
Yeah. I've actually been teaching since I was about 14. I taught the piano then, and I think teaching is one of the best ways to kind of solidify your own skill set and really figure out exactly what it is you do. So I teach all ranges. I've taught a lot of adults actually who've come to me in their late 60s who want to pick up a new skill. And I would definitely say it's never too late. I teach young kids as well, so the full range really. So we're going to be looking at sitting with the cello, which is obviously cello specific. We're going to be looking at holding the bow, talking a little bit about the bow, because there's some really cool things about the bow that we don't talk about much.
Okay.
And I always think they're slightly sort of wizard-like things where every player is drawn to a slightly different one, and the reasons behind that. And then we're also going to get you making a sound on the open strings. With any bow, you'll hopefully be able to see that. You've got this lovely natural kind of arc in the bow, and that's the wood relaxed. So they've got this beautiful arc. And what we do when we play, I mean, if we were to play with the wood relaxed, we would just have lots of wood noise on the string, which you don't want. So we tighten it using this screw, and you might not be able to see very clearly because it's small, but the frog, which is this black bit, is moving backwards along the stick as I tighten it. So that's pulling all the hair tight.
Hair?
Yes. Horsehair, usually.
Okay.
It can be nylon as well.
Okay.
And it's got these little microscopic hooks on it, which grab the string as you pull it along.
Right.
So, and we also use rosin as well, which keeps the hair sticky. So it means, and that's what this white stuff is on the string.
Oh,
so
right, okay.
That's from the rosin, which
okay.
we use. Yeah, so we'll get you standing up and feet shoulder width apart. And what people are surprised at actually is you don't need to have a really wide stance, and the cello, as it sort of comes in towards your body, your knees make the space for it. It's almost like a wee basket.
Okay.
And actually, I can show you when I'm sitting back down again, Baroque cellists play without a spike, so they totally cradle it in their legs. And it's evolved from that.
Okay.
So if you sit down sort of maintaining your connection to the ground, great. I'm just going to pass this in. That's great. So you've got this point here, and then on your chest too.
The tuning is just totally by feel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you start with first position, which is roughly about, what's that, 1.5 inches away from the scroll. So if you put your hand up sort of in line with the scroll, and then move it down like 1 inch-ish, that's roughly first position. So that's where beginners usually start their left-hand journey.
And you can just see the wood is effing old. You can really see it.
Yeah.
And so dozens of people have played it?
Oh, yeah. Since 1780. I wish they all came with a passport that told you where it'd been, what it had played. I mean, I know it was in the Liverpool Phil, so it will have played all this amazing classical rep.
And does that go into the instrument, do you think?
I think, well, in terms of physics, people always say that cellos or any like wooden instrument that's played in sounds better. So
string, teeth of the horsehair causes a vibration which goes into the bridge?
So the bridge catches those vibrations.
Yeah, and then into the body.
Yes, and that's not all because we have this very special post in the middle.
What, inside?
Yeah. So basically, underneath about where the foot of the left-hand side of the bridge is.
Oh, interesting.
We have this little wooden bar, which is called the sound post, and that joins the top, the front face of the cello to the back. So it runs to the back to something called the bass bar, and the whole instrument vibrates at the same time because of this connection of the sound post.
Right.
Which
That's interesting.
Amazing.
So does it make, and then these F holes are for sound to come out?
Yeah.
Okay. The strings are made of?
In the olden days, they were made of actual animal gut. On a baroque cello, they still use sheep gut. So these are steel strung now, which just means they project more. So it's a volume thing that we've modernised into that.
What takes it out of tune? Is it the harder you play, the more pressure you apply?
It can be. Most are pretty resilient. Sometimes a very intense sort of passage of pizzicato can.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you're really,
and snap pits.
Yeah, exactly. Giving the string a bit of a workout and stretching it out, and putting it in direct sunlight like mucks up the tuning and makes because the wood's expanding in the heat, everything goes haywire. So temperature really is the big one.
So you've played in a multitude of venues and environments. Are there any conditions where you just go, I'm sorry, I can't? Like rain?
Rain, yes. Yeah, you can't play in rain. And that's because the rain will affect the varnish. So it's really bad for it to be wet in any circumstance. What I'm going to get you to do is shake your hand out.
Sorry.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
and
then nothing.
It's good to both hands relaxed. Yeah, great. And what I want you to do is actually just do nothing apart from hang your hand. So this is a really perfect bow hold here. It's spot on, and it's like that sort of like hanging bunch of bananas. And this applies to every string instrument. For the violin, there's a slightly different technique that is used with the pinky, where the pinky's on top of the wood, but we won't do that here, and you don't need to worry about that, but it's just a little detail that there's a difference. But for us, this here is absolutely ideal. So I'm going to put the bow in, and what I want you to try and do is not grab. So just do nothing, just keep your hand exactly as is. And that spacing is absolutely beautiful across your fingers there. It's really ideal. So all I'm going to do is just adjust your thumb. We're going to pop it, I'll maybe show you this actually as well on the camera. Great, that's really nice. And then if you take your hand away again, and what we're doing is we're going to aim to get your thumb in here. I call that thumb corner. So it's just this, I'll show it on the camera as well. It's just this little nook here where you can pop your thumb. And that slightly varies between players where people find that most comfy. The other thing that varies amongst cellists is some people have their thumb like that. The school I was taught it like that. And both have disadvantages and advantages. The main one being if you're that way, you could potentially be a bit more tense there, but I know plenty of amazing players who work like that, and I'm with the thumb that way. So it's meant to be slightly more relaxed, but everything has plus and minus. That's great. So see if you can wiggle your thumb into that. Yeah, brilliant. That is so good. Look at that. Great, and I'm just going to move that bow now to the string. What I'm going to do is just get you to focus on that bit of your finger. Just slightly roll. Yeah, nice. And then keep that feeling. This is, brilliant. And we're just going to move the bow now. Brilliant. And then when we sort of return to the string here, Do that wee shrug of the elbow. That's it. Amazing. That's so good. And the same again. Great. And then just see if you can sort of roll yourself. Yeah, that's great. Fab. And then that nice relaxed feeling in the elbow. Great. Fantastic. And then we'll stop there. So feel free to take your hand away from the bow and give it a shake. So that was the G string that we just did, which is one of the middle two. So we'll go through the process again and get you on the C string.
Okay.
So if you shake out your hand again, and then we'll just pop it about there. Great. I'll move you to the C string. Right, so C string. So this is our lowest string.
It's tickling. It's tickling my tummy. No, I'm serious. It really does tickle. It's amazing to feel that transfer of energy from some horsehair in your hand into the string, into the bridge, but being fed directly to the back of the cello through this posty thing. So much so that it actually makes you giggle. I first became aware of a cello with this film, Fame. And marvelled at how much passion could be conveyed from the human through the bow into the instrument. And it's so wonderful to feel that that passion is fed back to you directly into your tummy. There seemed to be something so embracing about a cello. It's like cuddling something. But in fact, in reality, it's just this very light piece of very delicate wood resting against you, working less as a single entity than I'd expect, and more as something that you're in harmony with, this real sense of a transferal of energy and that conversation. So I've learned how to bow the thing. Obviously the first thing I want to do next is to find out how saltasto is made and how saltasto can saltasto go.
And then again, if you drop your elbow away, great. Fab. And then dropping your elbow, great. That's the fun string, that you really feel that in your body. Yeah. If you try playing there, listen to the sound. It's got these weird overtones and stuff. Yeah.
And then this is saltasto?
Yeah. So much softer. What's your favourite sound?
This is very exciting. And where does it stop?
You can carry on very far and yeah. Have you done a library of people playing up there yet?
It's nice. So beautiful. Oh, I see what these are for now.
Yeah.
That would just be bonk. Yeah. That's interesting. Why is it forming that harmonic?
What happens when you get those harmonic sounds, it just means there's not enough weight in the bow.
Okay.
And that would be how you play if you want a nice, really quiet sound or something.
Okay.
What I'm helping you with here is just get sort of utilising the weight so it's into your... On. That's it. Try now. That was bad from me. Yeah, nice. There's these things called bow press ups where you just sit and do that in front of the TV, or you do it at the Frog, but you're doing these bow press ups and climbing up the bow, so you're trying to get dexterity.
Oh wow.
There's all these, and
understanding its centre of gravity a bit better.
Exactly. And yeah.
Forming that relationship.
That's it. And
understanding it more.
Exactly. There's loads of weird little exercises you can do for your finger dexterity, because that's the other thing, as well as it being physical. There's also a mental thing about each finger being independent. So I'll show you just very quickly. If you do your little routine, great. And what we're going to do this time, if you find your thumb place, great. Just out of interest, if you pop it that way, does that feel? And I'll leave you there. So I've got hold of the bow, so you won't drop it. Can you lift that finger? Yeah. Great. Can you lift that one? Great. And see if you can lift them both. See, that is your bow hold, basically. That grip. Yeah, that's great. Wow. And you won't drop it. So what we're working on is the strength. It's like a wee fulcrum, the thumb. It's like a wee seesaw balance between your end two fingers.
Yeah.
So if you let go of those two again, great. And we can do a bow with just those on the string. elbow, yeah, great. Well done, nice. So that would get your strength really quickly, sort of doing little exercises like that. Great. So that little crunchy thing, that's because I'm putting loads of weight in there for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. Fab. This is hard. Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and that's how you would start anybody who wanted to get bowing and trying to make a good sound. The main thing being trying to keep your arm as relaxed as possible.
What would you say for violins and cellos? What is the minimum amount of years you need to put in order to be eligible for, back in the cheap seats in an orchestra?
I would say
thank you. It's very diplomatic.
Well, I started when I was 8.
Okay.
And you're basically practicing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
how many minutes?
Well, at music college, I went there thinking, oh my goodness, I have so much to catch up on. I wasn't in a music school. I just was at a normal school in Scotland. And I went down to Manchester, and there were these amazing Russian prodigies who, they had been in music school since they were 6, and I felt like I have so much catching up to do. So I practiced in my first year. Honestly, I practiced 6 hours a day. I know, but what I would say about that is it wasn't productive. I think that 3 hours max is a good amount to practice. I think beyond that, at least for me, I wasn't really concentrating. I was just kind of going through the motions. So I actually would say 3 hours is, if you want to have really high intensity, good practice, 3 hours would be great if you want to go professional.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks so much.
No, thank you. Great student.
Oh,
you're on your way.
Thank you.
Fab.
I think it was John Lennon who said, if you're starved of inspiration, pick up an instrument you can't play. I think there's several reasons for doing that. What I walk away with from this experience, not only other than thanks to Alice for entrusting her wonderful instrument to me. I teased her and said I'd had a doner kebab just before. I was all going to get all greasy. And yes, I do plan on buying one and possibly creating some samples of myself of ridiculous up at the neck saltasto, my neck, not the instruments. I guess just by being close to these instruments and maybe holding them, you get a sense of the physicality. And in so doing, you create an empathy for the instrument, for the player and her or his implements of trade. Just having held the thing, just having that memory, and it will be a memory that I will remember forever, implanted on my life, will help, I'm sure, me to write better music for the best instrument. It's kind of like when I'm writing for flutes. I used to play the recorder a bit. I just imagine blowing, and the minute you start understanding the lung capacity of a human, you start to create flute parts that are related to that lung capacity. It's not about just giving a perfunctory breath here and there. You write it around what is a natural, I guess, flow of a sentence. So it's something I'd hugely recommend. Now, I'm not saying you should expect all instrumentalists to let you have a go. It was very kind of Alice to do that, and it was Alice's suggestion. But garnering a better understanding for how these things work will, I believe, create a better harmony between you and your instrument, the orchestra. So, COVID-22 hits, a blight that is annihilating all known musical instruments. What would your top 5 be? The ones that you would protect at all costs? Your Noah's Ark of wondrous noise organisers, counting down from 5 to 1. Please put it in the video comments down below. I look forward to reading these ones. As always, do subscribe if you haven't done already. We're a small startup, and there's some really fascinating resources coming your way. You subscribing to this channel enables us to keep that effort up, and I thank you in advance for doing that. Thanks for sticking to the end, and do just try and pick up something you can't play, even if nothing comes of it from a kind of it won't make master. A better understanding leads to better empathy, and that is one of the greatest gifts that music can give us, an understanding of each other, our feelings, our emotions, and what it takes to be harmonious.